Hey everyone, this is Sean. In today's video, we are going to be discussing two very important topics. Number one is for those of you who are in California. If you're in California, we are going to be talking about possession of pepper spray, whether or not as a private security officer, can you carry pepper spray? We're going to be talking about that. In the second half of the presentation, we are going to be discussing whether or not attending an online pepper spray certification class, is this a good idea? And I'm going to already say it's a bad idea, but give me some time and we'll talk about that. So the first half is designed for those of you who are in California. The second half are designed for those of you who are in California or elsewhere. It doesn't matter what jurisdiction you're at. So let's talk about pepper spray possession. There's a common misconception out there, just a belief that's wreaking havoc in the security industry. The myth is that you can have, as a private person and as a private security officer, you can carry pepper spray as long as it's 2.5 ounces or under. So let's talk about that. As a private citizen, you can have 2.5 ounces or under, as long as you're carrying it for defensive purposes only. Now, as a private security officer, there's a greater chance of you having to use pepper spray. And there's also, with that possibility, also come your opportunity to have more than 2.5 ounces of pepper spray. So as a private security officer in the state of California, if you want to carry one drop of tear gas or one drop of pepper spray, just one drop, you need to have the certification. So you don't get a license in California. You don't get a certificate. Well, you get a certificate. You basically attend your 4-hour certification class for OC, which is the fancy, I guess, scientific name for pepper spray. You take that course and you're able to carry a drop of pepper spray. You can also carry more than 2.5 ounces of pepper spray. You can buy that gigantic fire extinguisher looking pepper spray if you want to, as long as you complete the course. Now, if a peace officer asks you, after you deploy pepper spray during an incident, if they ask you for your license for it, you tell them, I don't have a license. All the state requires is that I provide some type of certificate of completion. What I used to do when I ran Desert Tactical in 2010 through 2014, I provided a certificate of completion, but it was in a small card, kind of like a business card style, in extremely small print. I think it was a size 7 or 8, and it had all the legal requirements on there. It's not a license, it's not a permit, it's a certificate that you have to present upon demand. That's it. Okay? Do not be under the false belief that you don't need any training as a private security officer, as long as it's under 2.5 ounces. Listen to me, listen carefully. As long as you carry one drop of pepper spray as a private security officer, you need to have completed that course. Okay? Otherwise, you run the possibility of running afoul with the law. You might get arrested for a misdemeanor. So please complete the certification. Now, the second part of the presentation, we're going to talk about online training. I know that some people have mentioned, hey, just have your employer, sign off on your training, or just complete an online course. Let me address that from somebody who has trained others in pepper spray deployment. I don't like online pepper spray courses for those of you who have not had any formal training with tear gas or pepper spray. Let me explain why. Okay? During training, you have the option of being exposed with pepper spray or some other form of tear gas. You have practical applications that are involved. If you take an online course, then you don't get that practical element of training. You don't get to build that muscle memory. Not all training facilities are the same. I'm not going to boast my experience at Desert Tactical. That's the facility that I managed and that I owned between 2010 and 2014. I'm not putting it on a pedestal, but we had tactical applications, practical applications. So what would we do is, on certain commands, we would sidestep off the X, okay? We would block, we would raise our support hand in such a way so that if a punch came at you, that you're able to block it, and then we would deploy the pepper spray. And then we would move at different angles. We move to the left or right, we take a step back. But you have the practical application. We would train with inert training devices, which is basically just water, compressed water in pepper spray canisters. And then we also train with pepper spray. So in my course, you were able to be exposed with pepper spray if you wanted to. You'd sign a waiver. And there's two ways of exposure. Number one, we flat out just spray you in the eyes with pepper spray. There's number two, we get a Q-tip, spray the Q-tip, and just put it underneath your eye. You would have so much that your eye would at least shut. So you would have some type of exposure. There's also that third-hand exposure. So when someone else gets exposed, the particles gets into your lungs. I mean, you're not gonna have the same effect. You're gonna be coughing, but that's another form of exposure. But we're training in a reality-based training environment. This is muscle memory that we're gaining. Okay. They might even ask you in court, have you ever been exposed to pepper spray? And if so, what is the feeling? Because I'll tell you this, if you get into a lethal force encounter because somebody was about to use pepper spray on you, if you've never been exposed, it's very difficult for you to convince the jury that it is extremely painful and you are unable to open your eye at any time notice. And because you're not able to open up your eye, okay, you don't see what this person is doing with the firearm that's in your holster. And I'm just giving you some random examples there. That's why it's good to be exposed. Also, ladies and gentlemen, if you've been exposed, okay, you're not going to panic as much. Now, I've been exposed to pepper spray about 3 times. So number one, I just had a cousin just spray me in the face with pepper spray. I panicked. I thought I was going to die. I thought I was going to have a heart attack. I started having a real panic attack, and nobody taught me to control my breathing. I thought that I was never going to see again. It's a funny experience, but it's scary and it was painful. Second experience was in the police academy, and that's when they use the Q-tip method. They spray the Q-tip and they put it underneath your eye. You could do that, or you could just spray it. I know some of you are saying you're a baby, whatever. What kind of academy did you go to? That was an option, okay? I was a baby. Now for tear gas, that was different. We went straight in the tear gas chamber, which was living hell. It basically feels like there's sandpaper in your lungs and you just keep coughing. It's the most horrible experience ever. There was no Q-tip method for that. When I got certified as a chemical agent instructor in Las Vegas, I can't remember the name of the guy. I think his last name was Barker. I can't remember the name of the course, but he's based out of Las Vegas. The name, his company starts with a V, I think. Maybe VTAC. I don't remember. Anyhow, he sprayed you directly in the face. Okay, there was no option. If you want to pass this course, you get sprayed directly in the face. If he missed or he got you a little bit, he'd make sure he'd do it again. You'd have a holster on you and you fight for the gun for, I think it was about 2 minutes. And guys, I could just feel the pepper on my tongue right now, and I feel the physiological effects from over 10 years ago. It's just a weird feeling. Maybe it's PTSD. I don't know, but you have to fight for it. And I was in the sun, guys. It was extremely painful, but that's how you get certified with it. And again, I did not panic this time. This time I was able to control my breathing. It was painful. It was deliberate. It sucked, but you have that hands-on experience. If you take an online pepper spray class, you don't get that same exposure, okay? And let's just say the company that you train at doesn't expose you. I think that's also fine, but as long as you're incorporating movement. I mean, you normally don't train martial arts taking an online course. Most of the time you don't. Normally you're in person where you're building up that muscle memory. So those of you who are saying just take an online chemical agent class, I say that's a horrible idea. unless you've been exposed as a police officer, as somebody in the military, or somebody that was in neither occupation, somebody that would just expose. And I'm not talking about third-hand exposure. I'm talking about you had somebody, a supervisor, a colleague, a friend, just spray you directly in the eyes, directly in the face. You do that, and then you take the course, the online course. I think that's better than just taking a straight flat online course. Okay, there's online courses that you can take. It's a 4-hour certification course, and you can complete the course in 10 minutes. What are you really gaining from that? Nothing. That's why I just think it's a horrible idea to just take the online course. There needs to be some movement also that's attached to it. I suppose if you get a webcam, if you're an instructor and you have your students, block their face, manipulate the canister, move to the left and the right, in different directions while they're spraying, and observing that they spray in the correct manner. I don't think that's a bad idea. This is actually something that I might do if I do online training. But most courses don't do that. If you know of a course that has a practical application that's online, let us know. Send me a message, post a link. I know that a lot of the links don't go through because YouTube blocks it. At least post your message, and then a next thread, post a link, or send me an email as well. I also want to talk about getting certified by your employer. Yes, you can, in California, you can get certified by your employer. This is the problem though. Your employer can virtually have no experience at all. No training, instructor certification, nothing. And write off certificates for you for chemical agent certification. This is the problem if you are an instructor. You get subpoenaed to court, you have to testify on your training experience, your education. When they ask you, where did you get trained from? What are you going to say? Nowhere? Myself? I'm so awesome that I certified myself?